Hi everybody, welcome back. So tonight I wanted to take some time to talk to you guys about something that's pretty big in the pagan world, and that is tools. And I know that this subject is especially touchy for some people. If you're out there and you are in the crafting business and you make these tools for magical uses, I'm not against you for any reason. But this is for all those other people out there that are those buying tools. And that is, we often forget what these tools are for. And so many times we see, especially in these pre-made spells, these things that we look up online and find in books or, read about on someone's blog, where the spell or the ritual that you're researching gives you a list of ingredients and tools that you need to use for it. And while a lot of these things certainly make spellcraft and ritual work so much easier, none of them, and you can quote me on this, absolutely none of them are necessary. This is the reality. The magic, the work comes from you. You, the witch. You, the pagan. You, the practitioner. The work comes from you. These tools are wonderful accessories, and again can make these projects and processes much easier and possibly smoother. You'll probably get a slightly better result or a faster result, but they do not create the magic. The magic comes from you. And we see it a lot, especially with people who are new to the practice, where they have to buy this thing and they have to buy that thing, and trust me, I love a new crystal just as much as the next girl. Like, here I am wearing my crystals and wearing my jewelry and all this stuff. I love my tools. Most of them are made by me or sourced through people that I trust, because oftentimes I have found in my practice, especially when I'm going out and purchasing commercial items, either in metaphysical shops or in stores, it has a certain energy about it that I have to go through the process of removing that energy before I can even use the item. And I find a lot of that is circumvented when I either create my own tools for use, or when I, again, source it through somebody that I've already shared my intention with, that this thing is going to be for this, and they put that intention into the item that they're creating for me, which is why I trust artisans. I definitely trust artisans. Big box shops, metaphysical stores that don't make their own stuff, not so much. And again, this is nothing against owners of shops. This is nothing against people who run those crystal shops. We all know that everybody's got to make a living. And we know that you are in the business of selling us things that we are asking for. And people are asking for these things. But we also, as consumers, have to be very mindful of the ethics behind the creation and the provision of these items. Like, so many times we'll walk in to a shop and pick up something shiny and not know where it comes from, and not understand the ethics behind the mining of that crystal or the growing of that herb. Back in the olden days, we had whatever we had. Picked up a stone on the side of the road. We had, basic granite is one of the most common occurring elements where I am. And it is a very powerful tool when it's sourced directly from nature in an ethical fashion. Like when I go hiking and I pick up a stone because the stone says hi to me. Like, that's one thing. Going into a store and purchasing something like, I know a lot of quartzites come from mines that are actually staffed in a great number by child labor in the Middle East and in Africa. And so we need to be aware that that sort of energy imprints itself on our tools when we go to buy them. And not every shop owner is in the business of making sure that these things are cleansed of energy before they're given. In fact, I do know a couple of places that have cast charms over their entire inventory that specifically are meant to bring customers back into their shop to purchase more, to buy more from them. Other things such as like anti-theft charms are definitely on a few things that I've seen in a couple of shops that are local here in Utah. So there is already an energy imprint on that thing. And again, I have to go through the process, and me knowing how to do that after so many times of it not working for me or having a weird backlash kind of effect, I learned the process of how to remove those energies from the items that I purchase. So for someone who's newer to the craft or is maybe not as aware that these things happen, or is not quite as mindful of where you're getting your items from or where your supplier is getting their items from, doesn't necessarily know how to cleanse and doesn't necessarily know how to prepare an item for use. A lot of times I've been saying that a lot this video, but we take the thing home and we do the thing with the thing, and it doesn't work, and for some reason we can't figure it out, and we think that there's something wrong with us. 9 times out of 10, it's because there's a problem with your materials. I've seen it a lot, and especially places here where we're a desert. We don't have a whole lot here to work with. I mean, outside of what we would know if we actually studied indigenous tradition. But people are not growing their own sage, even though it grows rampantly here. I have a giant bush of it in my backyard, even in January. Like, we can do these things for ourselves. We don't necessarily need to be going out and purchasing it. And sage is another one, is huge ethical problems surrounding that and its uses. And I'm going to put my shameless plug here. Just because you're smoke cleansing with sage does not mean you're smudging. It's not a smudge. Smudge is a certain process. It is a ritual. It is a prayer. And unless you have been inducted into the specific tradition that uses the smudge and you are doing it the way you were instructed to do it, you're not smudging. Stop calling it that. It's not a smudge, it's a smoke stick. And if it's not ethically sourced, then bet your ass it's not going to get anything out of your spaces. So again, be mindful of where you're getting these things and be aware of where your items are being sourced from. And if you're finding that something that you like to work with is not ethical, then it is a personal responsibility for the practitioner to decolonize and to separate themselves from that unethical practice. It will come back to you in your craft. It always does. And again, I'm not a keeper to the threefold law. I don't believe in karma. Those are concepts outside of the path that I currently follow. So I cannot say in good faith or conscience that, karma's going to catch up with you. But I do believe that what we attract to us follows us. And that I know from personal experience. So when you're working with bad, unethical energy, bad, unethical things happen to you. So bet that shiny little earring doesn't exactly look like the best thing in the world. The hope and the upside is that you, being the magic creature that you are, this human, this practitioner that you've become through study and practice and awareness and being mindful of where your items are coming from, you can create your own tools. You can source your own tools from ethical sources. And you can support local artisans by asking them and paying the extra money, because they deserve it, to give you a good product for something that's going to actually work for your practice. These things, they're all tuning forks. And if you can't, for some reason, afford an item, or if it's going to put you in a bad financial situation to go out and dump $100 on spell ingredients, nothing good is going to come from it. Make substitutions where you can. Trust your intuition. I'm a diviner first and foremost. I believe wholeheartedly in intuition. If something in your mind or in your heart or in your soul is telling you that this thing is not the thing you need and you need that thing over there, trust your intuition. you'll be happy you did. A great example of this actually happens here on a regular basis in my home. Have students and friends who are also practitioners coming into my home. We're getting ready now for St. Bridget's Day and preparing our altar for Saturday. Yeah, this Saturday we're having a party and a get together for everyone in our kind of like little close tight knit circle, making a couple of candles, devotional candles. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, it needs this thing and this thing and this thing. And suddenly I have an idea pop in that, oh, it needs this. In this specific case, it was, oh, I have pre-made wicks over here. I should use one of those. It'll be better than this wick that's secondhand and something that I pulled out of something I'm recycling. So that worked. And tonight when I did my devotional, it burned perfectly. So I'm glad that I trusted my intuition on that. Little things like that are what make us who we are. And we need to remember that our mind and our heart and our soul knows best when we are in good alignment with ethical practices and when we are in the right kind of relationship with our deities and with our higher powers and with our higher selves. As we all deserve the best outcome to the work that we are doing. And the only way that that happens is if we have faith in ourselves. If we trust and believe that we are capable of completing this thing, of doing whatever it is that we're asking the universe to help us with, or a universal power to help us with. The tools are fun. The tools are a great way to align the mind. They're a fantastic method of drawing in that extra oomph of something that kind of will direct your energy in a certain way. But at the end of the day, the spell, the ritual, the craft comes from you. Trust yourself and let everything else go. You don't need fancy cauldrons. You don't need $100 besoms on Etsy. You don't need a special kind of perfume. You don't need a special kind of ritual salt. For anything, literally anything, you don't need anything but you. And if you choose, you make the conscious choice to include these tuning forks to help align you as a human being and put your mind in the right place to hold your intention. Make sure that you do it ethically, above and before anything else. Yeah, it's shiny, but where did it come from? Yeah, it smells awesome, but who made it? Yeah, that thing over there looks really, really cool, and I so totally need it right this very moment. Yeah, well, what is it really? And can you do something that is just as good or better? And trust yourself. Trust yourself, trust yourself. Have faith in yourself. Write your own incantations, even if they sound stupid. As an example of that, one thing that I boast about a lot, and this is a thing I've been trying to bring up for people who are struggling with a daily core practice, for the last 10 years or so, I've done a morning enchantment over my coffee. I like to start my day with magic. I like to start it so that I'm in the right kind of mindset to be on that path and walk that path. And it really just started out me in the middle of a combat zone, walking into, my shop in the middle of the night, and the guy who got there 5 minutes before me had already brewed coffee, and I literally took that coffee and I poured it into my mug, and I said a little prayer over it, and it all started with this one little prayer, and it was, Goddess Morrigan, please give me the ability to kick ass and take names today. Please give this coffee the power to invigorate me and revitalize me. So mote it be. And then I drank it. That's a spell. And it didn't require anything other than me. And of course the coffee, because coffee is life. But no crystals were required, no specialty herbs. It was just straight up like month-old Folgers that somebody had pulled off of a bottom rack because we ran out of the good stuff. So it wasn't even good coffee. Like, you got to make do with what you have. And that's what I had. When you make it a commitment to do something like that, like a spell, like a ritual, the universe or universal power, whatever higher power it is that you believe in, will provide you a way to do that and to see your commitment through. If it doesn't, then chances are you didn't make the right commitment and you need to back off. So, thank you again for listening to me rant again for another 16 minutes. But seriously, have faith in yourself. The magic is in you. Leave all the tools beside, even if it's just for a little while. Set those things aside and see what you are truly capable of, and learn before you make your next purchase of your next magical tool or item. Figure out where it came from, figure out who made it, and figure out who's actually selling it to you and what their intentions are. And you will find a whole world of difference in your practice and in your life. So, till next time, stay cool, be awesome, and of course, kick ass and take names.